I'll quickly just go through the slides. Sorry, one second. So what I'll do is I'll give you a brief sort of a brief overview of the upcoming lectures also before I introduce the main speakers, Murad and Hossam, who will be talking about meta research of COVID-19 literature. So I will not go through the upcoming lectures in a lot of detail. I went through that last time, but just to we'll go just an overview. But before that, let me briefly mention about the house rules. So as soon as you join, all the attendees, when they join the webcast, they are automatically put on mute, and only the host can unmute them. So what we are encouraging is you to ask questions by typing them in the Q&A box in the Q&A window. And periodically, the session chair will ask the speaker to pause, in this case myself, and ask them to answer some questions. Okay? And at the end of the talks, the two talks, the speaker will stay back and take more questions. We really encourage you to make this as interactive as possible. So please do ask your questions. Last time we had over 100 questions, and we tried to answer as many possible as we could, and we'll do the same this time. So just to give you an overview of the lectures. So last week we had a presentation by Nan Tang and Amin Sadeghi on data visualization and exploration of COVID-19 data. That, if you missed the lecture, the video is available now, and you can go online to see the video. So today will be the lecture on meta review of COVID-19 literature. I'll come back to it a little bit later. On Monday, it'll be on managing health service during a pandemic. As you can imagine, there's a big need for managing health services efficiently during these times. And on May 7th, again, there'll be a modeling lecture, how people make forecasts about epidemics and pandemics. What are the underlying computational models, mathematical models that underpin this work? Following that, we will have sort of a very unique data-driven and AI perspective on drug discovery. It's in the news every day how potentially existing drugs can be used for COVID-19, and we will have a machine learning perspective on that. This is the first pandemic which is in the information age in some sense, and social media has played a huge role in that. So I think on May 14th we will have a lecture on the impact of social media on COVID-19, and sometimes we call the infodemic. And finally, on May 18th, we will have a panel which will basically summarize and have people have thoughts about the current events. So today now we will have so that's what So today's lecture is on meta research of COVID-19 literature. This will be presented by Dr. Murad Ozani, who is a principal scientist at QCRI. He's worldwide known for his research in database management, and he co-leads the Rayyan project. And Hossam Hamadi, who's a senior software engineer in QCRI and also leads the Rayyan development. So the way this will be organized is that Dr. Murad will speak for around 40 to 45 minutes. Again, I encourage you to ask questions. And followed by after that will be Dr. Hossam will give a demo of the Rayyan system for around 30 minutes. And then both will stay back and then take part in a Q&A session. So I'll just hand it over to Murad, who will now talk about meta research of COVID-19 literature. Murad, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Sanjay, for the introduction. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to tell you more about the things we have been doing with Rayyan and how this can help in the current crisis, especially when it comes to the meta review of the COVID-19 literature. I just need to have my screen. Let me share my screen. Okay. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So today, as I said, I'll talk about the Rayyan systematic review platform and how it can help in the meta research of the COVID-19 literature. So as Sanjay mentioned, so this will be presented myself, Morad Husseini, and then Hussam. So these are the current team. So we have Father Abu Bakr, he's a software engineer, and Ahmed Al-Magarmed, who is our executive director. He's part of this project as well as Hussam and myself. But we also have been had the pleasure to have worked with many people before. So these are some of the past member and contributors you see at the bottom. So we have Zibis Fedorich. So he's in the attendees. So he's like a systematic review expert. So he helped us understand the domain and how these kind of things work. But we also had a lot of students coming to help in Rayyan as well as current and former members of the QCRI team. So the agenda will be as follows. So we'll have two parts as I mentioned. So in the first part, I explain the need for a literature review, why you need to do a literature review when you have, given a question. And then I will go delve into how do you deal with a large amount of scientific article and scientific literature and data, and how Rayyan can come to the rescue and help you with all its features. For the question answer, I think based on what Sanjay said, so we'll just leave it at the end. I was thinking we could do part one first and then part two, but we can decide as we go. And as Sanjay mentioned, in the part two of this lecture, Sam will walk us through the Rayyan system. So if you are interested to know how really Rayyan works, so you should stay for the second part of the lecture. So let's get started with part one. Where this whole thing starts. So how does it start? Of course, as in any scientific endeavor, it starts with questions. Okay? So you have a question, you have a topic in mind, and you want to research that topic. Here I put like 3 questions that are very relevant to the COVID-19, and these are real questions that people have asked. The first one is, do hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine really work for COVID-19? The second question is, how are healthcare workers dealing with the outbreak in terms of their mental health? And the last question is, do school closures really help? So these are questions, and then you can have many other questions, either related to COVID-19 or other topics, right? This is how you start. And then let's go through directly to the answer to this question as made by specific people. So we have this, for the first question, we see this answer. So it says that this study, so someone did something, a group of people, I'll let you later know who those people are. So they identified 2 clinical studies which had data, and they said with limited methodological quality, evaluated the effect of hydroxychloroquine for COVID-19 infection. And then they said, based on the findings of these 2 studies, the efficacy and safety of hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine in patients with COVID-19 is still uncertain. In parentheses, very low evidence certainty. And its routine use for this situation should not be recommended until the result of ongoing studies could provide a proper assessment of their effect. So here you see some keywords like clinical studies, limited methodological quality, efficacy, safety, evidence, recommended, should not be recommended in this case, and so on and so forth. These are the kind of answer that you would expect for this kind of question. It's a disclaimer. So neither myself or QCR endorse any of those findings. Okay. So this is we verbatim from those papers. The second question, which was about how are healthcare workers dealing with the outbreak in terms of their mental health. So it says, the answer, the prevalence of anxiety, depression, acute and post-traumatic stress disorder, and burnout was high, both during and after the outbreak. These problems not only have a long-lasting effect on the mental health of healthcare workers, but also hinder the urgent response to the current COVID-19 pandemic by jeopardizing attention and decision-making. Then it goes on and says, in light of the limited evidence regarding the impact of interventions to tackle mental health problems in healthcare workers, the risk factors identified in this study, more so when they are modifiable, represent important targets for future intervention. So this was the answer. Again, so you see some of the highlighted terms like risk factors, limited evidence. And you should keep in mind those words. Now, the answer to the last question about the school closure. And the question was, does it really help for the school closure? It says, there are no data on the relative contribution of school closure to transmission control. Data from the SARS outbreak in mainland China, Hong Kong, and Singapore suggests that school closure did not contribute to the control of the epidemic. And then it says, recent modeling studies of COVID-19 predict that school closures alone would prevent only 2 to 4% of deaths, much less than other social distancing interventions. Policymakers need to be aware of the equivocal evidence when considering school closures for COVID-19. Again, so you talk about data, about the previous studies, about the prevalence of something, like here, the death prevalence, and also evidence. The word evidence, if you have paid attention, has been repeated multiple times in the 3 studies. In fact, in each study, this word has been mentioned. And at the bottom of each of those slides I have just shown you, there are the links for those studies. So these are
Murat, can I just
sure.
just there was a question, I think that's probably worth answering right now. It says,
sure, yeah, of course.
When we define a question, in which website can we put this question? So I think that's probably good to clarify.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah. So we are talking about questions that are that cannot be answered by any existing system. So this is not a question that you are going to give it to a system and the system will give you the answer. So this is a question that you do part of your job. So if you are, let's say, a medical doctor, or if you are a student researching on a specific topic, or you are working for the healthcare department in your country, so you are going to be asked those questions. And this question, I mean, coming up with this question is not a straightforward process. So it depends on many things. Okay, so for example, I'll go away a little bit from COVID-19. So if you go to your doctor, so the doctor will give you a treatment, okay? And then if you, how does the doctor really give you this treatment for a specific condition you have? So this is based on guidelines, and those guidelines came from this kind of reviews, and this kind of reviews started with some questions. So the questions are not something that you just go and ask for a system, and the system will answer those questions. But in fact, you a part of your study, a part of your job, you will figure out what kind of question you need to ask. So this is there is a research process that goes on before even asking the question. And this is what these people have done. Of course, some of the questions are just there, right? Because I mean, there is a lot of talk about, for example, about chloroquine. And these people from Brazil, they said, okay, let's see if we can find some evidence about their use. And I already mentioned their answer. So this was published in a paper in this journal from Brazil. For the second question, this is still a preprint, which means it's not peer-reviewed yet, about the impact of outbreaks on the mental health of healthcare workers. The last one about the school closure was is a peer-reviewed study in the Lancet, the famous biomedical journal. So what I'm trying to say here is that there was a question, and this is how this thing started. And these people went through a long process of studying this question and collecting the evidence to be able to, and analyzing those evidence to be able to answer this question. So how this question were answered? So that how do you answer this question? The key element here is the evidence-based practice. Okay? So you try to answer this question based on available evidence. And to do that, what you do, you have to go through a literature review. You have to collect all the review on your question. And then you need to identify, appraise, select, and synthesize all high quality research evidence that is relevant to your question. And this is what we call evidence-based practice. This applies to medicine, but it also applies to other areas of research. We have seen people in Rayyan using it for environment, for engineering, and for other things. And this is very ingrained in the practice of evidence-based medicine. Basically, the question there is what works. Okay? What is the intervention? Either a drug, medicine, or some exercise or some treatment that works for a specific condition. And usually the way you do it in evidence-based medicine, so you do based on previous studies, many randomized clinical trials, you want to show what are the interventions that have been proven to work and what remains unknown. Because sometimes your answer will be, we don't know. Usually the answer is either it works, it doesn't, or more evidence is required to understand what works really. So the key element here that we have to keep in mind, there is a process that you go through, which is evidence-based process. The other thing that I should mention, this kind of research is meta-research, which means that you are synthesizing and analyzing previous research. You are not going to do a new clinical trial. You are not going to do a brand new experiment in the lab, but rather you are going to collect all existing evidence, analyze them, and synthesize them. And this is a long process. Okay? And this is, if you will, if you want to do it from A to Z, this is the kind of process that you have to go through. So this is from this paper, Systematic Review Automation Technologies, by Glasgow and on all. So the author showed more or less the different steps that you need to go through if you want to do a review, either a systematic review or a literature review, because there are many types of review. But let's say here, this is for the specific case of a systematic review. So the first thing you do is you need to formulate the review question. So what is the question that you want to research? Okay, and usually you don't. If the review this question was reviewed before, you don't want to do it again. So you need to go and see if there are other systematic review or literature review that have answered the same question. And then you write your protocol. What is the objective of your review? How to make it reproducible? What is the methodology? You can make sure that your methodology is sound for peer review. Here, peer review means that you have to do it with multiple people. And then after that, you devise a search strategy. So basically, based on what you want, you need to decide what are the keywords that you are going to use, the queries that you are going to use to do, and send them to different databases. We'll go through this later on. And then you do your search. And then you deduplicate, because sometimes the search comes with the things that are similar. And then you go through the thing in black, which is the appraisal. You go through the screening. And this is a very painful part, and this is an extremely important part in this whole process. So basically what you do, based on titles and abstracts of the different studies, you want to make sure to remove the things that are for sure not relevant. Okay? And then after that, you bring in the full text. You don't want to do this with the full text because there are too many. So you only want to bring the full text of those articles for those that are more important that you think may be relevant to your question. So you bring in the full text, and then you do again a screening based on the full text. And then you can do snowballing, which is basically following the citation from those different studies that you have included. You do some data extraction. Now you need to extract all the numbers from those studies, and then you synthesize those data, and then you do an analysis. Okay? I go through quickly those parts. So what we care about mostly in this lecture and what we did in Rayyan. So we looked at this process, okay, from 15 steps. And we know this is a long process, and we wanted to see what are the most painful part of this process. And the black part is the one that is most painful, which is basically screening abstract and screening the different studies based on titles and abstracts. So let's focus more on this painful part. As I said, so you have your research question and topic, and the thing you do a keyword. So you, for example, if for this chloroquine, basically maybe your keyword would be chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, COVID-19, coronavirus, and so on and so on. These are different keywords. Usually, if you are lucky enough, so you have access to a librarian, so he will help you or she will help you get a good queries based on your question or research topic. And then you go to different online scientific resources or databases. PubMed or EuroPMC, which is a kind of a sister system for PubMed. PubMed is published by the NIH, the National Library of Medicine in the US, the Web of Science, and so on and so forth. There are many, many databases. Many of them are free, but some of them require a subscription. And then what happens when you do the search? You are left with thousands of results. Okay? So you get few keywords, so you get hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe tons of results. But how do you deal with that? Because you know for sure they are not all relevant. Just to give you a perspective, if you go to the EuroPMC, so they prepared this query for us. So in there, if you go to this link, so the link will take you to one of the links in that page will take you to this page, which is a search of all literature related to COVID-19. You don't have to go into the details, but just give you an idea. So for example, they put a different keyword here. They say 2019-nCoV or 2000-nCoV and COVID-19, SARS, Wuhan, coronavirus, or why they are trying to be as general as possible because they don't want to miss anything. Here, it's extremely important not to miss any study. However, by doing so, you get a lot of studies. Here, I mean, in this particular search, if you go to this EuroPMC database and you use this the keyword they provide, so basically you obtain or they return 78,597 articles. Imagine dealing with that much articles. This is not easy in any way or form. Another.
So Murad, maybe it's worth clarifying here that so this is not limited to. I think you mentioned it in the beginning. It's not just medical research, right? For COVID-19, you could pick, the economic impact of COVID-19, the social impact, and
absolutely, yeah. This is a very good question. So maybe most of our examples are related to the medical part, to the biomedical aspect of COVID-19. However, this evidence-based practice and all the things that I am explaining can be applied to any topic. So as long as you want to collect the data, like for example, what Sanjay mentioned about the economic impact of COVID-19. So of course, you won't go to EuroPMC or to PubMed because I doubt you are going to find any related articles because most of the articles in those places are biomedical related to the biomedical research area. Maybe you can go to Web of Science. If you go to Web of Science, so you say, let's say you put COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 and so on. So those keywords related to COVID-19, and then you add economic impact, unemployment, wages, and so on and so forth. And then you get those studies that have been done for this particular case. Maybe you can also do the environmental effect of pandemics and those outbreaks. So you go to your Web of Science or to your database that has papers and research and studies about the environment, you do the same. So you say COVID-19, coronavirus, and so on and so forth, and then you add your keywords that are related to the impact of COVID-19 on this aspect. So economy, environment, business, mental health, biomedical, and so on. So just think about any question. So you go your database, search the articles or the studies that have been done on that particular topic, and then you go and get the data. So as I said, so going back to my presentation, this is the kind of amount of data. So if you have 78,000 or more data studies. As another example, so there was this initiative from the Allen Institute with other people from different universities and also led by the White House in the US. So what they wanted, to also collect all articles, all studies that are related to COVID-19. So they come up with this, what they call the COVID-19 Open Research Dataset, and it has more than 57,000 articles. Again, how do you deal with those 57,000 articles given your specific question that you have? And I think about this, I should mention, then I think about this dataset, particular dataset, they also collected all the full text. And then they divide them in different subsets. So there are tons of, I'm not sure you can see it, but at the bottom it says like right now, they have 46,000 full text articles that you can get from this dataset. Okay. Now, so the questions of, so I have my question, like the three questions I mentioned in the beginning, and I went to my database, and then I searched, and I got thousands of results. And I'm sure that not all of them are relevant. I want to go through them. And also, I don't want to go through them by myself, alone. I want some help. Okay? So how to sift through thousands of results, possibly with others? And this is the question that we answer in Rayyan. So we built this system called Rayyan for systematic reviews and for other literature review. And our goal is to provide an end-to-end platform so we can expedite, make it faster and easier to create those kinds of reviews. And as part of this, so we need to use machine learning and database and software engineering techniques that will prove to be extremely important if we want to make this system really useful and be able to help people quickly go through the creation and of systematic review. In terms of the different features of Rayyan, so the first thing that we had to, we needed to do is to come out with an intuitive user interface for screening articles. So what is the best way? So the first question to build in building Rayyan that we needed to do is what is the best way to show the different articles for people so they can do it quickly. Okay? And you will see after I finish my part of the lecture how we do that. So Hassam will show you how this user interface works and how it shows. The other thing that we needed to come out with is that because this is a semi-automatic process. Okay? So some of the thing will be done by the machine, but some of the thing will be done by the human user, the reviewer. So we needed to add visual cues in the user interface that can help you quickly screen through the tons of or thousands of articles. But something that helped us a lot is to have behind the scene machine learning algorithm that will learn from your behavior, what you are doing with the system, and then based on what you do with the system, give you a recommendation. And I will go through this aspect a little bit later. Another important thing is that we made sure that you can do it with your collaborators, so multiple people can work at the same time on the same review. So we have a support for collaborators, and this is an extremely important feature because usually most of the reviews are done by at least two people. The other thing is that we also allow for offline screening, so you can use it on your mobile app. So they have a mobile version, and even if you don't have access to the internet, you can still continue working on your review, and then it can sync whenever you have access to the internet. At the bottom, so this is just give you an idea that somehow, I mean, we wrote the top before seeing the bottom, but this give you an idea of the kind of things that people, our users, have told us about what are the kind of features they like more in Rayyan. So we received like 643 responses. Of course, the first important thing is the screening, being able to say what is relevant, what is not, and being able to label. And the second one is the suggestion for included, excluded. This is the machine learning part that I have mentioned. And the keyword highlighting are the visual cues. And then you'll see them, as I said, later on when Hassan will give you the demo.
So Murad, this was, of course, Rayyan was not built for COVID. It's been around for some time, right? Of course. And so also, when was this survey taken? This survey was.
This is actually this has been going on for a while. So this is as of last week. So it has been around for like 2 years.
I see.
I mean, the way we do it because we want to collect. I mean, one of the main things, I'm not sure this, of course, here, but the one of the main things that this is helping us is to understand what are the kind of issues and what kind of things that our users want to see in Rayyan. But we also collect other information as well.
So you're getting real-time feedback almost. I mean, you're getting feedback almost in real time.
Yes.
And again, it seems like screening is a very big part of it. Like, that's what they want.
Yeah, this is what they want, and this is and also in the subsequent slide you will see why. I mean, why this is the case. Okay, Serge. Although you are going to see this later on with Hussam, I just wanted to show you the kind of user interface that you are going to be faced when you go to Rayyan. So this particular review is based on the COVID-19 open research data set that I mentioned before from the Allen Institute for AI and other folks. So what we did, so we took that data set and we put it inside Rayyan as what we call a public review. So anyone, if you log into Rayyan and you go to the last tab, which is other reviews, you'll see that review. So what we wanted is to make it easy for our users to come and use this data set. So they will come to here and then take this data set, export it to their local machine, and then create a new review with this the same data. Sam will tell you more about this later. Just to give you a brief, I mean, at least you see how this things look like before we go further. So now I'll go maybe a little bit technical in terms of giving you what is behind Rayyan in terms of the architecture. I won't go into details. I'll mention also about the machine learning algorithm, and I'll give you some numbers. Something that although I mentioned that Rayyan is mainly working in a group of people, collaborators, and then being able to answer specific questions. But what I have noticed before, in fact, I use it myself as well, is that even if you are a single person, you just have something in mind, okay? You have a question that is, you're scratching your head. So what's going on with a specific topic? You can quickly go to your database, like if you're doing biomedical stuff, you go to PubMed or you go to Web of Science or any of those database. You bring in all the literature and then you put it inside Rayyan, and quickly, if you look like, a user interface like this, you go to Rayyan and give you, this is what's the topic. And then you can quickly skim through your review or to your articles that you have brought to Rayyan and give you a quick understanding of what's going on for your specific question or topic. So we have seen people using Rayyan not necessarily to, like in a very formal way, like having a question and trying to answer the question, doing the review and writing the document or writing the report, but also to just quickly understand what's going on for a specific topic. Let me go back to. So this is the high architecture. So maybe for you, some of you, it's not really relevant. It's just to say this building a system for 58,000 users is not an easy enterprise. So this is a fully microservice-based architecture and Dockerized, and it's hosted on the cloud. And there are many. I won't go into the details, but just to say, the idea here is that it's a bit of a complex architecture that is behind Rayyan to make it work. We talk a little bit, delve a little bit on the, since this is an AI-oriented lecture or series, so I want to tell you one of the algorithms that we use in Rayyan, which is extremely important, which is the Rayyan rating system. This is a very simple algorithm, but it's quite useful. So basically, you are the reviewer, you are the human reviewer. So what you do, you go to Rayyan and you upload your data and you start labeling. Okay, you say this is relevant, this is not, exclude this and include this, and so on, so multiple citations. Once you are done, we use this information or this training data to learn a model. Okay, learn a model. This relevance ranking model. Okay, this model based on what you just did. It's basically saying this is relevant, this is not relevant. Try to understand, build a model that can answer this question. Given an unlabeled citation, is it possible to say if it is relevant or not? Okay. Now, you say this, you say, okay, 5 of these citations are relevant and then 50 of them are not. Okay. Now, the system will go, build a model based on your labels, and then take those citations that don't have a label, meaning that you didn't decide if they are relevant or not, and take them and tell you, okay, most likely this should be included, and less likely this should be. At the beginning, we wanted to just do a classifier, which is basically telling you should include this, or these are irrelevant, or you should exclude this, and these are not relevant. But we figure out that it will be easier if we do a ranking. And we use a 5-star system. You have seen if you have shopped on online shopping, a lot of places they use this kind of way of showing how important something is or how relevant something is. So basically here, instead of telling you you should include this or exclude them, so we rank them based on the relevance, and the more green stars, the more likely you should include this citation, and the the more red stars, the less likely you should include. In terms of the actual model that we use SVM, the support vector machine, is a known algorithm for classification. In terms of features, we just use unigram, bigram of titles and abstract. We also use medical subject headings, mesh terms. We did use those because most of our users are from the medical domain, but we could use any other system that can give us topics that we can use for classification. And our classifier is a cost-sensitive in the sense that we favor inclusion decision, because we want to make sure that we don't miss anything. Recall is quite important in Rayyan in the sense that you don't want to miss important studies. This is how it looks like on Rayyan. So basically, you run the rating system, and then the articles that can be you can sort them through the rating columns. And the more green stars, as I said, will suggest articles should be included, and the more red stars suggest that the article should not be included or should be excluded. This is how it looks like on Rayyan. Am I doing in time, Sanjay?
Yeah, you have maybe 5-10 minutes, maybe.
Okay. I think I should be fine.
There are a couple of questions coming, which I think maybe is a good time to answer. One was, the COVID-19 data set that you used from, the Allen Institute. Is that set updated regularly, or it was like frozen in, one time they created a data set and then?
Yeah, good question. So basically, these people are doing a good job in the sense that they every Saturday they update the data set. And then what we do, if I don't know which version I have shown here, but this should be, this should be the latest version, the last Saturday. So each Saturday in the morning, this is the first thing I do. I go and check the new data set and make sure it's on Rayyan, so you can use it for your review. So we do update, they do update, and we make sure that we have the latest update in Rayyan that you can use for review. Just maybe I should clarify as well this. So Why we put it here in Rayyan is to make it easier for you to create your own review in Rayyan. The problem we encountered is that the data they provide is not compatible in Rayyan, and making sure that it's compatible, it's not easy. We had to write our own script, so it takes the data from the COVID-19 and transform it into a format that Rayyan understands, and then we put in Rayyan. For you as a user of Rayyan, what you are going to do, you log into Rayyan, you go to all the reviews, and then you will find this review, and then you say export. You click on export here. You export it, either all or part of it, depends on what you are doing. And then you get, once you get the file from Rayyan, you can go and create a review. Hassam will explain how you do that. Okay, so this is just for the. There was another question.
Yeah, so there was another question about, what you briefly mentioned this, but what ML algorithms are you using at the back end of Rayyan?
Right.
So maybe you already mentioned recommendation algorithms, right?
So this is the main algorithm. So the recommendation, this is extremely important algorithm, because the idea here, this is the idea. So it's all about reducing the time it takes you to go through all of this. And the way we looked at it, so there is, of course, the interface. There are those visual cues, but also we have a machine learning that will quickly recommend or suggest to you what to include, what to exclude. And we have shown, based on our experiment, that it can save you up to 50% of your time. So instead of spending like 10 hours, you are going to spend 5 hours on average. Although we have seen, depending on how your review is, how your studies are, that you can save much more time just because of the suggestion that you get from the machine learning algorithm. Okay, there is sorry, go ahead, Sanjay.
No, that's good. I think you can.
Yeah, of course, we didn't stay there, so we wanted to, we come up with a new algorithm, which is a more comprehensive algorithm than the one that we have in Rayyan. It's an ensemble-based method, so it takes a multiple classifier and ensemble them. So it's like we get a vote on the most likely things to include and the less likely things to exclude. This is in this paper that you see at the bottom. It's on archive, but we didn't have time yet to deploy it into Rayyan. But just to give you the importance of using, including machine learning algorithm in helping in the decision making. Something that I should mention as well is that in this, we took the decision not to let the algorithm themselves make that the final decision what should be included and excluded. So the way we are using machine learning is mostly as to help you make those decisions, not to replace the human. Although this is something that a lot of people are discussing, is how can we for some of the steps that you have to go through in the systematic or other types of review, how can you replace the human with a machine? Or maybe you can have a human and a machine. So basically you have two reviewers. One of the reviewers is a machine and the other reviewer is a human. And then you just combine the two and try to figure out the best decision. So there are other algorithms, machine learning algorithms that are used in Rayyan. So one of them is for deduplication of articles. This is a regularity logistic regression. I won't go into through the details. So this is an algorithm that we did not develop this algorithm, so we are working on including our own one. So we have a deep learning based deduplication algorithm that we are trying to put inside Rayyan that we published last year, and it's one of the best algorithms right now. Published in the top database conference. It's one of the best algorithm for deduplication. Deduplication is a very simple problem because you are getting articles from multiple places, and many times they don't look really the same, but they are the same. And then it's not easy to figure out if they are the same. So we do topic extraction. We use this known extractor, MOI extractor. So we use also a probabilistic model for detecting natural language. So because we want to detect if it is in English or other languages. And we also do location extraction using the Stanford NER. Okay, quickly I'll go through some numbers, some evaluation, and then I'll end with this. So does it work? So this question is that does really Rayyan work? So we're glad we did our own experiment, of course, we did our own evaluation, and we know that Rayyan worked, but other people independently from our team went ahead and did the job for us. So basically, there was this study in 2017 of Sweden that shows that you can save around 50% of time by just using Rayyan. There was another study. Sorry, before and this is some more or less similar to what we get from our survey. So we asked the people, so how can you estimate the time saving that is afforded using Rayyan compared to other tools or MIN that you have used before? We got more than 600 responses, and you see the breakdown in terms of percentage, how much time saving. Interestingly, we got even people saying that around 20% of people said that it can save them more than 75%, which is impressive. But a third of them said that it's between 50 and 75%. The rest between the if you average the whole thing, you get like 50 to 60% time saving. And something that came in January this year, which we're very glad with, is there was a study by a bunch of researchers from Cambridge, I believe, and it's published in BMC Medical Research Methodology journal. And what they did, they took 60 tools that you can use for screening, okay, for the systematic review, for title and abstract screening in systematic review. So they took around 60, and then they eliminated the most of them. They kept 15 based on some features they had. And guess what? We are number one, okay, with another system called COVID. But we are very glad to see. And on the bottom, on the left, you see Rayyan is number one in terms of the weighted feature analysis score. So we are doing extremely well compared to other systems. At the bottom, there is this traffic light diagram of software features. So they looked at different categories: economics, setup, screening support, process management, reference management, workflow, screening features, and security. And of course, you want to have a lot of greens, which we do. We have a few oranges. I think we have 3 reds and only 1 white, which is not applicable. And looking at those features specifically, this is something we can do easily. We can have it all green. It's a matter of time for us to do it. But we are very glad that we are number one system in the world in terms of systematic review and title and abstract screening. Just give you some numbers. So we are, as we speak, we are, I think it's almost 59,000 registered users. These are registered users that have confirmed their account. And we get like around almost 3,000 daily active users, thousands of reviews, millions of articles, millions of decisions, millions of labels. And we are glad that the paper that we have published in 2016 talking about Rayyan got like more than 800 citations. Huge. And we hope to get to 1,000 in very soon. At the bottom, these are our users are very, very active in terms of using Rayyan for COVID-19 related research. Of course, I cannot disclose what they are doing, and I'm not supposed to even see it. But we know, talking to our users, we have hundreds of such reviews going on in Rayyan. So people are very, very keen to work on COVID-19, and they know that Rayyan is the tool to use when it comes to reviewing a large number of articles. At the bottom, these are just examples because they are publicly available. There was one on 2 of them I mentioned in the beginning, and the last one I didn't mention about the persistent virus shedding in feces, and so on and so on. Just not, I put a star because these are not peer-reviewed; these are on archives. But I hope in a couple of months, most likely, these 2 reviews will be published in a peer-reviewed journal. And before finishing, this is some testimonials. So we get a lot of kudos from our users, mostly that this system is amazing, the system is fabulous, it saves a lot of time, and so on and so forth. I won't go reading all of them. If you want to read more, so you just you go to Rayyan/testimonials, and you see many more people, happy users who are very extremely happy with Rayyan. So these are just some references if you want to learn more about Rayyan. I encourage you to read the first paper, which is about explaining the system. But if you want the actual citation, just go to Rayyan's site. In summary, if you have a question, scientific question that you want to answer, it's not about reading one article or two articles. It doesn't work that way. So if you want to do a rigorous research, a rigorous analysis, if you want to do an evidence-based analysis, you have to sift through hundreds, if not thousands, of scientific articles. And you need a tool like Rayyan to help you do this, to do that. If you just go and read one or two, and this is why we see a lot of bogus science these days, is that people limit their conclusion, limit their statement on a narrow number of studies. You have to ask your question, look for all relevant studies and go through them. And Rayyan will help you a lot in this process. Just some to end this this part of the talk. The main success factor that made this system work and be successful. So you have to work with domain experts, people who understand the domain, the systematic review domain. You have to follow good design practice. You have to use machine learning. So if you want to save time, and you have to listen to your user. Thank you.
Thank you, Murad. So while Hussam, comes on board, so there was one question about how to deal with non-English articles. Do you actually remove them, or it's up to the reviewer?
No, we don't do anything with the being in English or Arabic or anything. You just see them there. So it's your decision if you want to keep them or not. Okay, there's let's say Rayyan is language agnostic. He doesn't really care about the language. Of course, we didn't do much testing. I'll be honest. We didn't do much testing in terms of the algorithm when it comes if you are using a different language. This is the only thing that we didn't do. So although to be honest, I have seen reviews that are all Chinese. Okay, they only use Chinese article. There are reviews they use Portuguese article, but I'll be honest also that most of the studies that people are bringing to Rayyan are in English, but it doesn't really matter.
And of course, Rayyan is used by, at one time you mentioned it's being used widely in Scandinavian countries, right? In Sweden.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I didn't give the breakdown, but in terms of users, we have most of our users are from the US, but we also have a lot of users from Scandinavian countries, mostly Sweden, Norway. We have people from Germany, France, and Italy. We have a lot of users from Brazil and India. So these are the main part of the work where they
Thank you very much, Murad. Hussam, do you want to give a demo now?
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Murad, for giving this presentation on Rayyan. You did a good job. You made my job very easy now. I hope the audience are excited now to see Rayyan and how it works. And thank you all for attending. I'm going to give a demo now for Rayyan and the mobile app, both the web and mobile. Let me share my screen. Okay. So as Murad mentioned, any researcher who wants to do some literature review or wants to screen some references, the first thing he goes to some database online, and then he types in some search keywords. I just prepared these keywords for the COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic. Then when you search for them, you're presented with like thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of results. And then you just go and then read them one by one. And then if you need more information, you just click and see the links. If you want to get them in any reference manager, you export them and then again, you only have to just manually sift through them. So this has proven to be tedious. So this is one example. So one more related example, also as Murad mentioned, there is the COVID-19 data set. So these are curated data set for COVID-19. Usually, I mean, they update it every week, and then they have now more than 57,000 articles. So you would download from here, and then you would import them in some reference manager or something like Rayyan to read them. So as you can see, it's very difficult to sift all of these things. So here is where Rayyan comes to our rescue. I will go to Google and search for Rayyan. So you don't have to memorize the link, you get it in the first hit. So this is rayyan.qcri.org. This is our system. You just click here. Okay. So we have prepared this review in public so that people can use it to do COVID-19 related research. From this homepage, you can also download the mobile apps. And then, if you published a paper using Rayyan, it would be great that you cite us. And then this is what our people are saying. There's a quick video demo on Rayyan. Okay. So I will. You can sign up for free. It's currently free for everyone, with no limitations. I will just sign in. I have an account with my email address, and then just sign in. Okay, so this is the first screen that you see in Rayyan. So I have no reviews as of the moment. These are reviews that I create, and these are reviews that I've been invited to, and these are reviews that I've been invited to as a translator, and then these are the public reviews. So as you can see, there are two public reviews. So one of them is the all of you can see it. So which is the COVID-19 open research, which is more than 57,000 articles. So it's owned by Murad. There is no one else invited, but everyone can see it as read only. So if you go to it, this is how the review looks like in Rayyan. So these 57,000 articles, you can see them as, I mean, these are the titles. This is a huge table. Okay, you can scroll indefinitely to this table. You can see the title, the abstract, and you see also the authors. You can sort by date. You can sort by title, authors, and then you can also notice that some terms are highlighted. These are also these are highlights that we have prepared from the left. These are the filters. So as you see, some keywords were prepared by the owner of the review, like SARS, antibody, MERS, plasma, which are closely related to the topic of this review. We'll see shortly how to create our review and put our own highlights. So you just go through this, okay? And as a viewer, the only thing you can do is just to see the articles. To start screening, you have to have, been invited to a review as a contributor or as an owner. But you can export everything from here. Okay, so you can work on your own review. What I will do now is that I will filter by the year. So all of these are different filters. Duplicates, it also, Rayyan helps you in resolving the duplicates. It will run an algorithm and it will suggest some duplicates for you, and you have to agree either yes or no. And these are the screening. If you have uploaded multiple files, they will appear here. These are the keywords. Okay. So what I will do now, I will work on a subset of this review by exporting the 2020 articles from here. So you can click here anytime. Okay. To get this filtered. Second. So for example, okay, I'm filtering 2021. These are articles that have not been published yet. These are preprints. That's why they show here as 2021. So when I click on any other year, okay, there is a lag on the screen. Yeah. So here are the 8,103 articles, unique articles. And we say unique because if you uploaded exact matches, an article that appears exactly the same in two files or in the same file, it will be detected as an exact match and it will not show here. It will just report the unique articles, but it will show you if there are exact matches here. So I will go ahead and export this subset. Okay, I don't want to export everything. I will export only 8,000. And these are the different formats that you can export in, some options. Okay, then I click export. So you will receive an email with the link. I have already downloaded this file. So what I will do now is that I will go to all reviews. Okay, I'll create my first review. I'll call it COVID-19 COVID-19 dataset 2020 only. Okay. And I will create my review. The first thing to do when you create a review is to add files. So you have either two ways to input. Okay. Try to be slow. Yeah, so there are two ways to input articles into Rayyan. So the first one is to upload your own searches. And of course, you've seen that this dataset contained like 57,000 articles. You'd, normally get these articles, either you search yourself and you have to be very careful with the keywords so that you don't get a lot of unneeded results. Or you go to the librarian in university or research center or whatever, and then they are, specialized and know how to search and get you the relevant articles. So the relevancy is very important so that you bring down the number of articles you have. But I mean, whatever you do, you will always get thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands that you need to screen. The other way is to do a topic search. You can search directly in PubMed from here. We'll give you only a sample. And normally you would go to PubMed itself and then get the articles and upload it here. If I am to upload the files here, before uploading, we also give you some, if you're migrating from another system or if you're exporting from another system, on the right, you can see these are different formats that Rayyan accepts. You have EndNote, RefMan, RIS, BibTeX, CSV, PubMed, Web of Science. So there are also samples so that you can see how they look like, just to make sure that they would work when you upload them. And you can combine them into zip files or GZ files. These are also some other guides on how to, let's say you export from EndNote. So this will give you screenshots on how to get articles out of this software. So for example, I have a library on EndNote, I click on export, I choose the format, and then I select the file and save. So this file, I mean, the same for all the guides here. I've prepared some screenshots for popular software. And then finally, when you have the file in one of these formats, you would select it from here. I prepared this file, which contains 8K articles, 8,000 articles. Click open. Now it's uploading to Rayyan. And not only uploading, it's also processing.
All right.
So I have uploaded this file. It has finished processing on Rayyan. I'll continue. Then I see the same screen that we saw before, but only for this subset. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, we see with the title. Yeah, now we see it. Yes.
Yeah, it's coming now. It's better than before, by the way.
Okay. So as you see, this is the same view that I've seen before, but it's only for this subset. And now I have more buttons because this is my own review now. If I go back to all reviews, I'll see this article in my review list. it's created today with this title and contains this amount of articles. Okay, I'll see it again. So now I have full control on this data set. The first thing to note here is that these are 8,000 years, but you can filter them from the left. For example, and as you can see, it has detected some duplicates for me. So the first thing is I want to highlight is the keywords. So there are 250 articles that are highlighted, have this keyword, which is compared with. So these are system keywords that are, initialized with Rayyan. These keywords help users to get through quickly through systematic reviews and randomized control trials. This is based on a study done in base, like 3-4 years ago, that these keywords help users to get quickly to the article. But you're free to delete any of these or add your own. So for example, placebo, if I click on placebo, I can see everything that has placebo. And these are keywords for include that will probably help me to include the article. So let's remember again that my main goal in Rayyan is screening. And screening means you want to filter down a huge data set to maybe tens or hundreds of articles that I want to focus on, to do my meta-analysis on. So basically, you will do two things, either include or exclude for the articles. So we'll see this shortly. And these keywords will help you get through the articles. So I can see the green ones are the keywords for include, as you can see. I can combine multiples of these, RCT, randomized controlled trials. There are 4 of these. Okay. And the second set that we can filter with is the keywords for exclude. Let's say in vitro, okay, or animals. So I see the combined number of these things.
Yeah, it's still delayed, Hassan. Maybe just give it some time. I don't know why we're having this issue.
I'll just try to be slow. Only thing in hand. Now I'm explaining the keywords for exclude, where they will be highlighted in red. So I know that probably I will have to exclude this.
We see that. We see what's highlighted in red.
Yeah. Okay. I can filter on a lot of things, like the topics. Rayyan detects the topics in the articles based on a trained model for medical subject headings. These are medical terms. It's a popular ontology for medical terms. It's called MESH. So Rayyan is pre-trained with this to extract the important keywords or topics. So for example, there's outbreaks, disease outbreaks. Obviously, because this is the data set on COVID-19. There are like 608 articles that have this keyword. So this you can focus on this. You can filter by the language that we detect. We also detect the language. So some people ask, what do you do for non-English articles? So we have a language detection where we detect them, and then we offer translation. It's manual translation. So you have to invite someone, or you input the translation, and then you see it in Rayyan. The journal, the authors, okay, and so on. So all the facets that you normally see in reference managers, and even more using machine learning, you'd see here. The next thing to do, there is also, if you want to search inside your articles with any arbitrary keyword like COVID, okay? So this will also search. And then you can combine any of these things. So you can search, at the same time, you can also filter by keywords, okay, and so on.
Hossam, may I ask like a slightly higher level question? So, it allows you to filter with keywords. So, of course, you could use Google Scholar to do some filtering. So what is the key thing that Rayyan is providing? Is it the tagging that you create your own tags for screening, or?
Yeah, so I'm now walking through navigating your review. So after shortly, I will talk about how you tag your articles. And then after tagging some of them, you will see that the machine learning will kick off and then help you in identifying more similar articles. But for now, I'm just explaining how to navigate the articles in Rayyan. I've already, explained things that are not found in other databases like, the topics, the language, the thing. All of these are integrated in your database. What you would ideally do is that you will go ahead and do inclusions and exclusions. You tag your articles. But before doing that, I have noticed that Ryan detected some duplicates for me. If you look at the top left, there is this box, the unresolved duplicates. I know that Ryan has detected that there are like 442 articles that look like duplicates. They might be duplicates, they might be not. So if you click on any of these articles, like this one, for example, okay, you'll see that there is a button here, resolve duplicate. So I would like to expand this view. And then if you click on resolve duplicate button, it will tell you, it will expand all the duplicates in this review. So now there is a cluster of two articles that Rayyan thinks with confidence of 90% they are duplicates. So what you would do as a reviewer is that you would first think before screening the articles, you want to resolve all the duplicates so that you don't do duplicate work. And then in a typical systematic review process, you would need to report the duplicates.
I don't know how to fix it, but there is still a lag between what we see and what you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe what you can do now is perhaps just maybe summarize, Hossam. That's okay. We don't have to finish the. I suggest that what we do is we take some questions if there are any from the audience. I think, and from the attendees. So, but I think the Rayyan tutorial is available on in other places, right? It's on YouTube or something, right? Yes. So I think that should be okay. So maybe I can ask a few questions, Murat, in general. So how many people are actually using Rayyan now for COVID? I thought you mentioned about.
I mean, we have more than 200 projects on COVID-19 in Rayyan.
Right. So over 200 projects on that, and of course, as you mentioned, this can be used for not just medical, but for also economical impact. Do you know if some of that is being done, or is primarily for medical?
We don't. We cannot share this information.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. So the other thing is that how about the fact that how when you did your studies and your sort of evaluation, what is the thing that really distinguishes Rayyan from, say, the other tools out there? Of course, you said in the ranking you're way up. There was COVID, which is also there. What is the clincher for Rayyan? Is it the interface, or is it the screening? Is it the machine learning? Or
based on our surveys and the different feedback we get from our users, so it's the interface, because it's quite let's say user friendly and simple. It's quite simple. I mean, there is no. This is the kind of thing you'd expect to see in this kind of work. So it's very simple. You have a left panel for the different filters, and then you have your list where you work, right? The other thing that people liked a lot is of course, the machine learning aspect, which is the suggestions that you get. And many people found them very useful, because they can quickly understand what they should exclude and what they should include. In fact, what I believe what we have seen is that people use it to eliminate more than to include. So sometimes if we tell you something you should exclude, most likely you should exclude. Okay, maybe you spend it's the cognitive cost, if you will, of going through this. So if you go to the bottom of the list, which is the reddish with the more red star, you can quickly. I mean, you can take you can select a bunch and just say exclude, and you should be fine. Okay. When it comes to the top of the list where you have the green, you have to be careful, right? Because you make sure that whatever you include is really relevant to your study. But people, of course, the collaboration is extremely important. Another thing that we have done that we couldn't show you is that there is this concept of blindness, and making sure that if we are working together as a group, or multiple two or multiple people, we have to make sure that we don't influence each other. So one of the things we did is we introduced this concept of blinding. So basically, if the blind mode is on, whatever you do cannot be seen by the other people. So if you put a label, or if you decide that something should be included or excluded, then your collaborator cannot see it. And people are very they really like this feature when you work with a group of people. And then you have seen you can go to that paper that I shared before, this study from Cambridge. If you see exactly for your eye, by an evaluation done by other people to tell you exactly why we are number one.
And maybe Hussam and Murad, this general question, because right now you have to take a point to a database or collect a bunch of articles like COVID-19. But is there a way where it could automatically go and there's been such a tsunami of information? Can you actually given some keywords sort of farm out to different databases and try to collect that information in some sense automatically, and then
you can search in PubMed from Rayyan, but it won't automatically go and collect articles for you. Because this is a curated review. I mean, you have to have full control on what you see in your review. But we have seen that most people do their searches in other databases through librarians or search committees, and then they upload the results to Rayyan.
I see.
Although there is another, actually, there is another aspect. We can still do that, but it's a little bit challenging technically, and then it may be costly in terms of the computing infrastructure that you have to have in place to support these kind of things. Of course, the other thing is that always when you do you try to automatically get things, it's not straightforward. I mean, Google Scholar, for example, they do a good job, but they have a huge infrastructure to get all those articles. However, the one thing, for example, they don't allow you to do anything almost. It's just for the eyes. It's not meant for automatic tools. You cannot send a robot there and try to get the data. So they won't allow you. So in fact, even to upload articles, you cannot upload a bunch of articles at once. You have to do it one by one, which is very annoying, but this is how they do it. And so it's possible. However, the technical challenges are quite daunting. So, and we, as Hussein mentioned, that we have seen a lot of people working with the librarian, they go to different databases, they make sure that their set is curated. So they go and search and then get the data and upload it to Rayyan.
Well, here's a specific question from an attendee. I'm interested to know the basis of exclusion or inclusion. Does your system evaluate the quality of the article or the exclusion inclusion? Is it based on the title of the article? What is your exclusion inclusion based on?
No, so okay, this is a very good question. So usually, maybe I should have mentioned this. Usually, when you working on a review, so you come up with a set of criteria. So you sit down with your group or by yourself, depending on how are you working, and you say, so for this study, okay, I'm interested on references or citation that have this age range. I am just interested in young people. I'm just interested in this particular outcome, like the temperature or whatever, the breathing or whatever. So you come up with the inclusion criteria. So it's a list of criteria that you have to come out with before starting the process. Once you have this criteria, and then you go and do the include exclude. We don't do any specific things in terms of linking those criteria to the way you work. So basically, whatever you exclude will be excluded, and whatever you include will be included. And also, the machine learning is agnostic to those. If you look at it, the machine learning is that trying to figure out this latent knowledge. There is a latent knowledge. The knowledge that we don't see, that the algorithm doesn't see, is those criteria that you have written down in your piece of paper or in your protocol. Okay? So based on those criteria, you make those decisions, and somehow the machine learning algorithm try to discover those criteria and then give interpret them in a way in a model, so it can do the classification. Of course, the issue is that there is no direct way, so we can take those criteria. This is something I wanted to work on with it. I didn't do anything on it, but the idea would be if you can come up with a language or a way, simple way, that you can write those criteria, and then we take those criteria and turn them into a machine learning model. But this is something that could be done. I don't know if it's this that should be explored. I don't know if it's doable.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Murad. Thank you, Hassam, very much. So I think this is a good place to conclude the lecture, and hopefully you liked it. And I think if I may sort of remind you, on Monday, there will be another lecture on managing health services during a pandemic, which will be given by Dr. Faisal Farooq, who has a lot of experience about dealing with medical and health-related research. So yeah, so thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next week.